not here with quite as large a group, but I'm here specifically to thank the city. Our home has been the Fort Worth Community Arts Center, literally the Scott Theater for 35 years, and you can't leave a city by just saying, and see you later. So we were delighted when you let us come a bit early and to say thank you in the way that we absolutely say thank you. And for our kids, as we performed around the world, there were places we would land of visibility. I mean, being in Times Square, performing is pretty cool. Always places that matter, Cook Children's Hospital or a Boys and Girls Club in Chicago, all over the world, always performing in a place that mattered. And places where real, true art is measured. So the Meyerson Symphony Hall and Italy in the center of the city and their beautiful, beautiful theater. The piece that we're here for is we always take our kids to places of power. So the perception is when they look at you, that they could be you. And when you look at them, for sure, we know that they will become activists and philanthropists and people whose design with our art is to change the world. So what better way to put a button from 1989 to this July than to come with our kids to gift you a message because we believe in you. And your jobs are a lot harder than ours. We sing and dance and change the world. That way, you're sitting in these places really daily changing and making decisions that are not easy. And so we really appreciate you. The best way to say thank you is to show up with some kids. And so this is Be the Change from the show that we just finished touring for 9 months called All In, which is really it. I mean, jump in. So thank you to Sydney for all of her incredible leadership, and now to the kids.
Awesome. Thank you, Deborah.
You know, every summer my best friend does this thing. We're somewhere with a pool, having a great time, and suddenly they just run and jump in with all their clothes on. They're like a cannonball of pure enthusiasm, making a giant splash and laughing like there's no tomorrow. And there I am, standing on the edge, dipping my toe in like it's some sort of sacred ritual, then backing away. What's my deal, right? Then it hit me one day. My activism is kind of like my awkward poolside dance. If I dip a toe in, test the waters, sometimes the chaos around me is just overwhelming. The crowd, the noise, the opinions, it makes me hesitate, unsure if I can handle it. Too hot, too cold, too weird, what would other people think? What if my best friend doesn't jump in this time? But you know what I discovered? I realized that some causes are just too important to merely dip a toe in. Some things we want to change demand more, require more. So, we take a deep breath, ignore the chaos, and jump right into the deep end. And it feels amazing. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's scary and exhilarating all at once. But once you get over that initial terrifying leap, once you are all in, wow.
Like a moth, drawn to the light, powerless to resist. A voice whispers from his heart, follow your dreams, follow the stars. Hey, hey, yeah, when they make you sad, choose to smile. And when they make you cry, choose to laugh. And when it's time to speak for what is right, use your voice to be a light. Choose to live, choose to love, choose to hope, choose to give.
Kids Care is not going away. We're going to the next chapter, so we can take all of this around the world. So we're not going away. We're representing Fort Worth forever and ever out there. So we love what you're doing and dreaming in the cultural district. We're right there with you. We're right there with you. Thank you for letting us sneak in before you get to, the businessy stuff of the day. And for our kids to be in this room and know that it matters when you've got a great mayor and a great city council. Thank you.
Can we take a picture before you leave?
Yes, yes. So squish on in. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Sorry, we're short.
Say it, don't.
Yeah, the front, can you
Squeeze on in here.
Back and I actually have you guys turn around that way.
I'll turn that way.
The front row, go to the back row, go to the front.
Okay, I think we're all in.
Okay, everybody look at this at the camera right here. Right here.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Got it.
Okay, and then just hold the camera.
Parents, we'll pause long enough for you to take a picture, even a grandparent picture. Yes, especially, you can stand, yeah.
Did everybody take their picture?
Y'all did such a great job.
I think we'll share. We can share photos.
Good job, y'all. Good job. Good job.
Great job, y'all.
Hey, Deborah, while you're walking out here, I just want to say thank you, and thank you. Sydney, you were there too when the Crane family about 10 years ago moved back. And I'm not even sure it was a real position, but you gave McKaylee and Mackenzie and Snoopy.
Yes.
One was Woodstock, and one Woodstock Friends. But we were trying to figure out, and we sought out your program and made sure that we'd been recommended to seek it out, and it was great for them as they transitioned back to Fort Worth. So thank y'all very much for that.
Those too. Lovely. Thank you.
Jeanette, go ahead, please. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to the City Council Public Comment Meeting. Before Mayor Parker calls the meeting to order, we ask that you please silence all electronic devices. For those of you who have requested to speak, there are 2 podiums in the chamber. The podium in the back is for individuals with mobility concerns. We ask all others to step forward to the front podium. Each podium has a countdown clock located to the speaker's right that will indicate how much time is remaining. When you have 30 seconds left, a bell will sound. When your time has ended, the bell will sound again, and you should conclude your comments. Before you begin your comments, please state your name. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette, and welcome to your Fort Worth City Council public comment session. I will call us to order and then open it up for invocation. Jeanette?
Tonight's invocation will be by Pastor Damon Holliday from Keystone Fellowship. Please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the pledges of allegiance.
Father, Lord, we just come to you on today, Lord, lifting up the city of Fort Worth. We love our city, Lord, and we ask that you'll bless our city, Lord. We thank you for and ask that you'll bless our mayor. We thank you for our city council and all of our leaders. We ask that you'll bless them, Lord. Bless our citizens, Lord. And Lord, we ask that you will bless all of our leaders in response to their willingness to serve this city and to serve you, Lord. Bless their families. Most importantly, Lord, bless their faith. You said that we should lean not to our own understanding, but in all things that we should acknowledge you and you would direct our path. And Lord, we need your direction. We need your blessing for all of the things that are on the docket on tonight, Lord. We just ask that decisions will be made that will improve our city, but most importantly, Lord, will bring glory to you. Lord, we ask that you do all of this. We ask you to do it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Mayor, our first item of business will be the approval of the minutes from the May 21st, June 4th, June 11th, June 18th, and June 25th council meetings.
Got a motion and a second, council. Please vote.
Councilmember Blaylock? Oh,
I think it's Jared. Yeah, he's absent. Thank you. Motion carries.
Mayor, that concludes all of the action items.
Thank you, Jeanette. Our first speaker this evening is Chris Wood, followed by Bob Willoughby.
My name is Chris Wood. On June 12th of this year, I left a message for Detective Preston of the Fort Worth Police Department. I asked him to call me regarding a police report number I had filed, 2400-15160. It was regarding my stalker. Detective Preston returned my phone call. He told me my bond officer was investigating my stalker. Any investigation he did would be a duplication of effort, so he was doing nothing with my police report. At my next bond meeting, Officer Majors told me, she's a bond officer. She doesn't even do investigations. On July 8th, I left a message for Detective Preston. Call me, please, and tell me what is going on with my police report. On the 17th of July, I still had not heard back from Detective Preston. I left a message for his boss, Sergeant Gutierrez, badge 3130. Please, I just want an update about my police report. On July 24th, I had not heard back from Sergeant Gutierrez or Detective Preston. So I drove down to Bob Bullen Public Safety Complex at 505 West Felix. Excuse my emotions right now. There was another woman there in a similar situation as me. Her stalker had keyed her car, keyed her boyfriend's car, broken into her apartment, left her many harassing phone calls. All she wanted was an update from her detective. So the police officer behind the reception desk gave her the detective's address. You can go ask him yourself, ma'am. So she's like, okay, I will. I walked up and explained my situation. He said, yours is just like her. You can go ask the detective yourself. Here, I'll write down the address for you. Northwest CIU, 2500 North Houston Street, Fort Worth, Texas, 76106. And he wrote down Detective Preston's phone number like it's a different one or something, I don't even know. So I said, great, I get in my car, I drive about 15 minutes away. I drive up to this location. The parking lot is fenced in. Can't get in. The only entrance to the detective's office was going through the parking lot, and there's a huge sign, authorized personnel only. Why do I keep getting the runaround? It's a simple question. I want an update on my case regarding my stalker. And they just sent me on a wild goose chase 3 different times, 1 detective and 2 police officers. The police officers are supposed to serve and protect, not send terrified victims on a wild goose chase. How do I get a straight answer about what is going on with my police report against my stalker? Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bob Willoughby, followed by Reed Bills.
Go ahead, play the video. Turn the sound up. Thank you.
Police brutality will end when we elect a mayor who cares about people more than fulfilling her self-interest If Mayor Matty Parker does not instruct the city manager to fire bad employees, but are not doing their job. Explains why we have a city that is out of control.
Mr. Noakes, can I ask you a question?
No, sir. Thank you.
You won't take a question?
No, sir.
So, he's got all the time in the world. He's not going to take a minute. I'll chase him out of the bill. And that's sure. You realize that you're responsible for what happened here because you don't hold officers responsible. You don't. You see how you run, Mr. Noakes? That's the problem. I really wish Chief Fitzgerald could get back here to help the city because we're in trouble.
Former Police Chief Joel Fitzgerald fired for being a whistleblower. Mayor Parker, you supported $2 million of our tax dollars to outside lawyers to keep a good police chief out. And on the other hand, Mayor Parker, you say nothing about the present police chief, Neil Noakes, not doing his job.
Okay. That first part.
CCPD funds, when we ask why the coming up agency receives $1,391,747 more than allowed. We get no reply.
Okay. The first part, maybe you can understand because it's so low and everything. The good police chief we had here was fired 3 years ago for whistleblowing. That's what happens. When you expose things, you get retaliated by these people up here, okay? They don't get investigated, you get attacked. I've been attacked plenty of times. The other thing is the chief thought he was going to win his lawsuit. We spent $2 million of tax money to keep him out of here. $2 million they did of our tax money to keep him out. And he's going to get back pay too when he wins, okay? Now, these CCP funds here, this is another thing that's corrupt. I've been down here a lot of times to talk about this. Maybe you can understand it. It says here clearly, and Carlos, when you ran away and you got to the door and you turned around and talked to me, your two answers were false. You looked mad, you looked upset, and you looked like a guilty person. That's all the signs of a guilty person, okay? You want to come down and answer some questions tonight decently and like a human being, or are you going to run away? It's up to you. Okay. The DA is going to have to look into this. We need people to call the DA here in Fort Worth to tell him to look in these funds. We need an audit on them. We need to know why some are getting millions of dollars and they're supposed to, and no one will answer questions. And Matty Parker, you sit on that board. You're more responsible than anybody because you sit on the board and you don't say a thing. And so this is what we need to check out more. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Reed Bills, followed by Charles Bills.
My name is Reed Bills. I live in District 6. I spoke before this council on August 10th, 2023, urging you to request and accept advice from your advisory boards, groups of knowledgeable citizens who have been appointed by you to serve this very purpose. At that time, I highlighted the library board, which had not been consulted before the downtown library was closed and sold. Apparently, the board has not been consulted regarding the pending purchase of an historic building as a replacement. On June 24th of this year, I spoke to you again about the contract entered into with a hate group, allowing them to use a city-owned building to spread their venom. In this case, you did not seek advice from the Human Relations Commission, a group appointed to assist the city in protecting residents from harmful discrimination. In my opinion, the lack of input from your appointed volunteers led to your making poor decisions. The contract with the hate group was not canceled, and a month later, another hate group was allowed to use the city-owned Botanic Gardens. You have also announced that you are rewriting your rules for use of city property, but have not sought recommendations from the Human Relations Commission. And now you are considering the purchase of a building that may not be adequate to meet residents' needs for a downtown library. I recognize that the board and commission involved failed to offer their advice and therefore must share the blame. Before coming to you to complain of your inaction, I spoke to the Library Board and Human Relations Commission to ask them to fulfill their commitment to provide you with input. I hope in the future you will ask these groups for advice on pertinent issues and that you will listen to what they say and act accordingly.
Our next speaker is Charles Bills, followed by Rita Ramon.
I'm here to talk about the library. I'm glad they're reopening the downtown library, but your job is not done. There is still the library that's right off I-35 or Seminary South or whatever it's called now. That was closed, and they put a kiosk in basically in that mall, and it's very inadequate. They can, if hopefully whatever's they're using the old library for can go into the downtown library now, and they can reopen that branch, and I urge you to do that. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Rita Ramon, followed by Thomas Hamilton. Is Rita here? Next speaker is Thomas Hamilton. Is Thomas here? Next speaker is Jim DeLong, followed by George Childs.
Good evening. My name is Jim DeLong. I missed seeing your faces last month, but I rejoice that you were able to get some time off, and I hope you had some great, peaceful time off. Today is the start of the 8th year that I've been coming to these city council meetings. And it's been a joy and a pleasure, and it's been an honor. I came in the beginning of August of 2017, it's 2017. And in November, I spoke for the first time. Back then, you could sign up to speak at that desk right outside. And so I signed up, and I put my subject, situational ethics. Michelle Gutt looked at me like, what? And that's what I want to talk about again tonight. Back then, I brought up the remembrance of the Las Vegas shooting. A gentleman by the name of Stephen Paddock on October 1st fired more than 1,000 rounds. He killed 6 people and wounding at least 413. And so what does this have to do with situational ethics? Remember when I had my ball and I said about red and green ball and all of that? This gentleman saw the red ball green. In his mind, he had every right to kill and murder and wound those people. He was, in his mind, absolutely right to do that. And you all sit as leadership of our great city. You hear a lot of voices. You hear a lot of opinions. You hear happy people, content people. You hear angry people, strifeful people. You hear people that want for unity. You hear people that are out for division. And so my heart and my prayer, it's why I come, is that you all will sit back and be able to step back from people and situations, and instead of looking at it from a situational ethics standpoint, try to see truth and right. And sometimes that's extremely, extremely hard to discern. And just one last thing, these kids singing this song of hope, of change for hope and good, we need more of that in America. Thank you for having them be able to perform before us.
Our next speaker is George Childs, followed by Homer Blocker III.
What reason is there for a person paid to protect and serve the public to render unconscious someone armed only with a First Amendment tool and having no violent intent? My premise tonight is that those threats to public safety from public safety personnel are at least in part the near inevitable result of a culture established by police labor unions. Assorted sagas have said down through the centuries that unpleasant things, often described in more pungent terms, roll downhill. And at the top of the hill are elected and appointed city officials, and at the bottom is the public. So what does the POA think about those at the top that will roll down? The short answer is found in the words police, association, power, politics, and confrontation. This is the title of a book intended for police union leaders. It definitely sums up a set of means. So to what end are they to be directed? From the original edition of the book, quote, "The fact is that police associations should exist for one and only one purpose, the accumulation and use of power," unquote. Again, that word, power. And what does police union culture say of those at the top of the hill that are perceived to stand in the way of that accumulation and use? One picture being worth 1,000 words, I turn to a slideshow held for union leadership by Ronald G. Delord, the person the POA has consistently chosen to represent it at meet and confer sessions about police labor contracts, including those currently taking place. The message there was based on a photograph of the body of a wildebeest designated as an elected official being consumed by a cheetah designated as a police union while being watched by another wildebeest. The message is knock one over and the rest will do what the union wants. Pull up Ron Delord, attorney at law, go to In the News, scroll down to Wildebeest in red and see for yourself. What is the result when the POA view that the spirit, if not the letter of the law of the jungle, should apply when it feels its power is doubted? Comes down the hill to fall upon the public. What is that result? You're looking at it.
Our next speaker is Homer Blocker, followed by Rosemary Galindo. Is Homer here? Rosemary? Rosemary will be followed by Jean Batty by phone.
Good evening. My name is Rosemary Galdiano. I reside in District 9 and spent my formative years in Worth Heights, District 11. It has been 1 year since I last came before you regarding the closure of our Seminary South Branch Library. The Seminary South Branch Library was visited by 80,000 people annually when it was closed in December of 2021. In its place, the Gran Biblioteca was opened inside the Gran Plaza Mall with a goal of increasing annual visits to 160,000. In 2023, La Gran Biblioteca had 39,502 visits. Clearly, it is not meeting the goal or the needs of the surrounding neighborhoods, including Worth Heights. A contributing factor is the fact that the mall is just not safe. Since April, 30% of all criminal activity in Worth Heights occurs at this mall. Customers have been robbed at gunpoint. Guns were pulled in a fight between two groups inside the mall. Stolen vehicles, shoplifting, and public intoxication are common. My statement last year was validated by the fact that the Worth Heights and Seminary neighborhoods were selected for neighborhood improvement funding this year based on solid data. Our branch library was closed in preparation for the closure of the Central Library. It was closed at a significant cost to the community. We are being left behind. Worth Heights scored 30 of 30 points for lack of opportunity, defined as the percent of adults who have a bachelor's degree or more. Indeed, it was reported just yesterday that reading scores show Fort Worth ISD years behind in national average. The mall library does not have the capacity to take full advantage of all of the wonderful programs that the library system offers. We deserve equitable access to the physical facilities, digital presence, collections, programs, and services. Currently, the Near South Side lacks a single full-service branch library. Inside the Loop, the North Side has two. West Side has 1, Southwest has 2, Northeast has 1, East Side has 5. The data and plain common sense dictates that you move the history and genealogy materials to the downtown building that you are about to buy where they belong. Reopen the full-service seminary branch library to the community. Let's do the right thing. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jean Batty by phone, followed by Jane Hull.
Ms. Batty?
My name is Jean Batty, and I actually only asked to be put on the list today. And I have to tell you how pleased I am by the number of phone calls I got from city employees basically trying to resolve my problem. So I'm grateful for that. Essentially what I was asking for is that the crosswalks at TCU actually are accessible by the time classes start on August 19th. And I'm pretty confident having spoken with your ADA coordinators. So thank you for that. The second thing I wanted to mention was the fact that the Bowie Hotel basically destroyed a sidewalk during the construction of their hotel. And I also reported that to the city because I think the city should require the hotel to fix the sidewalk and it shouldn't come out of the taxpayers' pockets. And finally, I've been listening with some intent to the reports on the new library you're planning inside a historic building. I sincerely hope that this new library will meet the Americans with Disabilities Act as far as access is concerned. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all you do.
Our next speaker is Jane Hull, followed by Bishop Kirkland.
Hello, my name is Jane. Several years ago, I'm sorry, I was hoping to get the mayor's attention. Several years ago, I was pretty distressed, wondering why there was so much conflict in this country, why red was hating blue, and why white was mad with left. And a friend of mine suggested that I go onto YouTube and view some what they called First Amendment audits. Or I more see these people as citizen journalists. And it wasn't very long before I could see what was happening. They were saying that you're going to see some individualized interactions between government officials and the people that they're supposed to serve. And these auditors also taught me my rights and taught me about our constitutional amendments. And I was pretty impressed. So I did a little digging around and said, I really want to see what's going on more local in Fort Worth, in my area. So I started looking for some auditors, and I found Manuel Mata and Carolina in Fort Worth and Harvey Freebird and Texas Gal Audits. And what I saw just totally just horrified me, the way that these citizen journalists are treated by the people that are supposed to be serving us. And I don't blame just the police, because I see it here in this city council. I see it with the mayor. When last meeting, she kicked people out of this room who were filming for their channels because she said that they were not journalists. And I see it with, I'm sorry if I butcher your name, Charlie Lufersdorf, because you posted on the police Facebook yesterday that a woman that was not happy with Fort Worth and the way the police were acting had options and she could find a realtor. That's a horrible, disgusting way to serve the people that you are supposed to be taking care of. Shame on all of you. Well, I think that there's one. Mr. Nettles, thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Bishop Kirkland, followed by Julie Griffin.
Well, I guess our hiatus is over. What happened to Miss Rodriguez is wrong. It is appalling. I understand that the officer's actions can be justified, but why would we? Thank God for women like Harriet Tubman and Sojourner. Thank God for strong women. Those women were out on that scene doing what it seems like, Mayor Parker, only women can do, and that's to do a good job and not be distracted. Everything would have gone fine, except here come wants to be Mr. Officer of the Year. He beats this woman like they beat my people in the 50s, in the 60s. He said he hit her so hard until on the video, you could hear this woman snoring. Why does this city always have to take someone else's bad apple? This guy had a record where he came from. Sent him to hell back where he came from. They threw him away. We went out on the street and picked up someone else's damn garbage. This officer used excessive force. It does not make sense to me. It is not right. I understand as civil servant, he can't be fired, but I'm an old Marine. Send him to me. I'll give him some duty in such a way till he doesn't have to be fired. He'll want to quit. We must do something. We cannot allow things like Miss Rodriguez to take place because of some lunatic. We've spent years. Some of you, Carlos, Mr. Flores, you've been here for years with me coming down here. Before you were elected, we've made substantial gain in this city with police and citizens working and trying to do things together. He blew it up overnight. And we had a convenient break right after he acted a fool. So we had a convenient break. Now, this is the time I normally like to be in my garden. I'm an old man now. I like to be in my garden this time. And I don't want to be in City Hall. There's some young folk need to be here. But until that bastard is fired, I'm going to be here every time you meet until he is gone.
Our next speaker is Julie Griffin, followed by Rick Herring.
Hello, my name is Julie Griffin and I live in District 9. I'm here to talk about an urgent matter relating to the budget, which you will be deciding on soon. I am understanding that budgeting for the Fort Worth Police Department's Mental Health Crisis Intervention Team, or CIT, is threatened. I understand that CIT is either in the chopping block in some way or has been recently, and that its resources are stretched so thin as to be ineffective in its mission. Is this all rumor? Do we in fact have a healthy, functional, well-staffed CIT unit or units with properly trained mental health professionals on board? I do hope I have been misinformed. But if I have not, please consider the following and hear this plea in any event to beef up this essential part of our city's safety care net. 1, I am a regular advocate for the rights and care of incarcerated persons and speak frequently at the County Commissioner's Court in that regard. One salient issue in that work has been the discovery of the vast numbers of persons with mental illness or disability that are being incarcerated at the jail due to their illness, the behaviors that stem from mental illness. We know that around 50% of the jail bookings are persons with CCQ matches, that is, they have been seen or examined or connected in some way with a state mental health care agency such as MHMR. Number 2, we know the crisis-based stories. Persons who should never have been placed in the jail but placed in a mental health care facility for crisis mental health systems before being either found on the street, wielding a knife or a gun. Time and again, a family member calls for help when a loved one is in crisis and asks for transportation for the loved one to JPS, but the police on the scene take them to jail. This is exactly the situations that desperately need a well-running CIT. 3, likely the only avenue we have in this local community at all, other than the Tarrant County Mental Health Jail Diversion Center, where eligibility is severely limited, for such families is the CIT. By the numbers, we should be increasing resources for CIT and have many more mobile units. Excuse me. Thank you.
You have 30 seconds. Go ahead,
Okay.
Julie. Thank you.
Properly staffed, availing themselves across the city. Decreasing a crisis intervention unit only makes our community and families less safe and subjects our citizens and mentally disability to jail and possible death there. Wherefore, I beseech you, do not end funding for any portion of CIT. Instead, increase its funding and resources.
Thank you, Julie. I do think there is some misinformation that we'd love to clear up, and Chief Noakes and Chief Alders are here. Maybe they can grab you before you leave tonight. Thank you very much. I'm going to go back to Homer Blocker, who I think was outside. Homer, you want to come down? Homer will be followed by Rick Herring.
Okay. Now, Homer Blocker, y'all know that's my name. Okay, check this out real fast, real quick, because I'm trying to hold it together. Ooh, Lord. Okay. I'm most definitely going to talk to you, Chief, before I leave. Now, I love my town, okay? I'm here to help. I said that last time. I'm here to help. Trust me, somebody need to get with me. Gina, she had a stroke or whatever, can't remember nothing or whatever. It don't matter. I don't care. I need to be at the top of the list. I got things done after that police officer got shot. I got things done on Miller, and I'm gonna keep getting things done. Now, let me tell you something, man. You know how y'all got at the schools? Gun-free zone? I done talked to a lot of people. I know a lot of people. Like I say, I grew up around a bunch of hardheads. Y'all remember Billy Ray Maddox? God rest his soul. This town built me. I'm suing the city of Dallas too right now. They didn't like the way I move and groove at work, okay? Now, off of 30th and Beach, I'm trying to help some people from out of town. This was Central. I was on the east side. East side should have stopped, okay? Central Law put his hands on me 5 times. If I didn't respect the law, it would have been ugly that day. I don't know if I would have been dead, but it would have been ugly that day, okay? So, let me tell everybody, the game. If anybody have a problem with any police officer, just call IA, baby. Call Internal Affairs. Trust me, they got our backs. Somebody is watching somebody that's watching somebody. Trust me. Trust me. So again, I say, Myra, I love my town. I really hate to sue y'all. I really hate to sue the city of Dallas, city of Fort Worth. I really hate to sue anybody. But they keep putting their hands on me, and I don't like that. I don't put my hands on nobody unless it's meant to be. I got 30 seconds left. Trust me, we need to do something about these guns, too. I've been shot at 6 different times by Crips and Bloods, right here in the funk, okay? Coming up in the 90s. I'm tired. I walk around, see guns here, guns there, guns every fucking where. Man, come on, man. Only thing like the schools, you know what I'm saying? Gun-free zone. Just get with people that own property, that own some or whatever they think they own. Put up signs, say gun-free. That way the laws can come in, you know what I'm saying, do their thing.
Our next speaker is Rick Herring, followed by Adrian Smith.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Rick Herring, 820 01 Bolton Street in Riverside. Hope you all had a nice break and got to go somewhere cool, or at least somewhere where it wasn't 100 degrees like it was in our wonderful hometown. But I wanted to come talk to you about as you begin your considerations for the 2026 bond program and those projects and how much you're going to allocate for those projects, and that you seriously consider and thoughtfully consider the amount you're going to allocate for Gateway Park. Fort Worth's largest park, as you know, and only metropolitan park, and a park that many, even Mayor Parker, is now calling Fort Worth Central Park. Parks Director Richard Zavala said it best on May 7th when he presented the master plan for Gateway Park to you before you formally adopted it. And he talked about the big four of the Fort Worth Park system. And those are his words, the big four. He talked about the Fort Worth Zoo, the Fort Worth Botanic Gardens, the Fort Worth Nature Center, and now Gateway Park, the big four. He also talked about some very important, large, transformative projects that Fort Worth has undertaken in the past 100 years, beginning with Lake Worth in the early 1900s, then during the Depression, the Will Rogers complex, which led to the creation of the Cultural District eventually. Fort Worth purchased Tarrant Field in West Fort Worth, which morphed into Carswell and is now the Joint Reserve Base. Those military installations gave the opportunity for the bomber plant to be located there in World War II, which gave us today's Lockheed. The convention center in the 60s started by the county, but then Fort Worth took it over and made it bigger and better, and it's become one of our biggest tourism drivers and economic engines for the city. These were all very transformative, expensive, and long-term projects. The same is true of the Gateway Park project. It will be transformative for the city. It will be expensive. It's got a $140 million price tag on it in today's dollars. But I believe that in future decades, people will be looking back, citizens of Fort Worth, and just as they talked about Lake Worth and Will Rogers and the Convention Center and Lockheed and all these other things, they'll talk about Gateway Park and what a difference it's made in Fort Worth. So as you consider, again, bond projects and the amount you're going to fund, we would ask that you consider allocating at least $50 million to the Gateway Park master plan so that that plan can be implemented within maybe 10 or 15 years rather than 30 to 40 to 50 years. So thank you for your time and your attention, and please remember Gateway Park. Thanks.
Our next speaker is Adrian Smith, followed by Manuel Mata.
Adrian Smith, I am one with the people. I will begin tonight with a quote from the City Council meeting June 25th, 2024, the 2-hour and 28-minute mark and on. Adrian, you cannot be rude. You have no ability at any point. You have no decorum. Every time you come here, it's some nonsensical argument that no one can follow. That's a quote. That's you, Maddie. Nonsensical, having no meaning, making no sense. That's you, Maddie. Well, tonight I'm going to make sure everything I say has meaning and it makes sense. You have something to sleep on. Have you ever heard of the term egg on your face? I know we all have heard of the term egg on your face. There's actually a definition for it. To feel embarrassed or ashamed because of something you have done or said. Mayor Maddie Parker. Maddie, everything begins and ends with you. Everything begins and ends with you as being the main figurehead of our city. The fraudulent continuation of taxpayer money being utilized for outside legal counsel purposes against former Fort Worth Police Chief Joel Fitzgerald should make those who are concerned with the continued direction of our city question your mental stability as mayor. One would think having a law degree would have made you consider the writing on the wall, but I guess your self-importance and desire to finish what your predecessor started would be one of your greatest achievements. Whistleblower, a person who informs on a person or organization engaged in an illicit activity. Chief Joel F. Fisher, whistleblower. Fort Worth Police Department, organization engaged in an illicit activity. Cost, $2 million in legal consulting fees to the city of Fort Worth taxpayers. In closing, people of Fort Worth, know that your presence as well as collective voices are necessary if we're to hold those we've elected accountable for their decision-making. No longer can you just vote someone into a given position without reminding them who truly holds the power. We hold the power. It's something for you to ponder on tonight, Mayor, when you close your eyes. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Manuel Mata, followed by James Smith.
My name is Manuel Mata. I live in District 9, and I want to talk about two things. One, Carlos, you need to get Officer Simmons off of Northside Main Street because he's targeting lowriders and Hispanics, and he's not even in that district. He's making the Northwest officers look bad, right? He's in Central A, that way it can help you easier, and get a hold of those car club guys. Thank you. And the second part is what she brought up earlier, detectives not wanting to do their jobs when they're women being victims of domestic violence. And that is something I'm not gonna stand for, because I'm here to talk for 5 women, I don't know her, that are having the same problem with these detectives. Now, if these detectives are annoyed, right, or don't have time, they need to be fired and replaced with a woman that's gonna understand what these victims are going through, right? Because remember what happened last time? Y'all didn't pay attention to this type of escalation in these men. Y'all let him bond out. He buried her under his house. I'm tired of detectives saying they don't have time. Make time, because these women are asking for help from police officers that have on their cars to serve and protect. Who? I am not gonna sit back and keep getting messengers, emails from women about detectives in the Fort Worth Police Department's not arresting them, not taking reports, and telling them to go somewhere else. Where? Where do they go? Where do they stop being victims in this city? And y'all have a plaque at Bob Bolin Center that says Tarrant County does not tolerate domestic violence. How is that an example? The Fort Worth Police Department, the detectives, come on, man, stop playing. Stop playing. These women don't need to be in any type of news articles, news breaking, because that's what happened last time. Y'all know who I'm talking about. He buried her under his house. Come on, man. If no one's gonna speak up for these victims, I promise you, I will come here and load this place up with victims. Stop playing with me. I don't come here and ask none of y'all for anything. I stay out of your way. I stop filming loser cops that don't understand their job. It's time for someone to do something.
James Smith, followed by Wesley Kirk by phone.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is James Smith. I live in District 8. A couple of weeks ago, a young lady by the name of Sonia Massey was killed by a policeman in her town. I don't know if you saw that video of that incident, but I did. And as that officer said, "Drop the pot," drop the pot, drop the pot. I heard, show me your hands, show me your hands, show me your hands. It's been almost 5 years now that this incident occurred in the city of Fort Worth. And I and the family haven't got closure. I understand that it's a legal issue. I don't know what you pay your attorneys, but accountability for something that has been proven to be truthful should be taken into account as far as the expediency of this matter. The family is tired, I'm tired, and I'm traumatized daily just by being at home. Seriously. Sonia Massey didn't have to die, shouldn't have died. Tatiana Jefferson shouldn't have died. My friend Carolina was brutalized by a Fort Worth Police Department. Well, not the department, but a member of the department. And what brings to my mind is the 97-page report that showed you that there was a problem in your police department. I'm not Einstein, but I can tell that some of those problems still exist, and they shouldn't. No citizen in the city of Fort Worth should have endured what Carolina endured, especially with the crime they wanted to charge her with. You guys run the city of Fort Worth, and the citizens look to you when they come before you to handle the problems or the complaints that they bring you. I'm not gonna say do your job, because you're doing an excellent job. The tourism, $3 billion a year for tourism, you're doing an excellent job. Do the same excellent job for the everyday average citizen that pays your salary. Justice for Tatiana Jefferson, accountability for the city of Fort Worth. Thank you.
We have Wesley Kirk by phone, followed by Carolina Rodriguez.
Wesley?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Hi, I'm Wesley Kirk with the Arts Advocacy Organization Support Fort Worth Art, and today I want to urge you to take action to preserve the future of the arts in Fort Worth. I'm sure you're all aware by now that Arts Fort Worth can no longer continue to afford to manage the Fort Worth Community Arts Center in its current state with the small amount of money they receive from the city. I don't believe this was done intentionally by anyone on the council, but I do believe it is the inevitable result of the contract that the city offered them 22 years ago, saddling them with almost all of the cost of maintenance and repairs for a city-owned building. The Community Arts Center has long acted as the foundation of the arts community in Fort Worth, and Arts Fort Worth has long worked to make it into a space that this city deserves. But when this city council sought to redevelop 1300 Gendy, throwing the entire future of the building into question, it caused a domino effect that ultimately compounded the financial struggle Arts Fort Worth faced with the Community Arts Center, leading to long-term donors backing out and the end of Kids Who Care, their 35 years of art education. Now that Fort Worth will go from having one of the largest community art spaces in the state to essentially having 0 community art spaces, the future of the art in Fort Worth is more uncertain than it's ever been. All of our remaining art spaces are soon to be overwhelmed trying to make up for the loss as artists scramble to find space and seek opportunities. We risk a downward spiral, losing more artists and art organizations and art institutions as they either move to other cities or cease to exist altogether. Despite being the 12th largest city in the country, and despite the arts contributing at least $500 million to our local economy, we still have a huge lack of art spaces, especially a lack of support from the city. I know the process of redeveloping 1300 Gendy will likely start soon, but we cannot wait until the new building is ready. We have to act now. We need to create city-owned community art spaces throughout the city. I urge you to invest in Arts Fort Worth, secure and increase their funding, which would allow them to create new community art spaces, even if they are temporary, that will help sustain the arts in Fort Worth. It'll also provide access, opportunities, and joy to your districts. Your actions can ensure the future of Fort Worth as a vibrant city with a thriving arts ecosystem so that we can all reap the benefits of a world-class city through the arts. We just need you to speak up on behalf of the arts. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Carolina Rodriguez, followed by Nan Terry.
I'm Carolina, and Elizabeth is my councilwoman. But there seems to be a big problem with that. The citizens, we mistrust the police. And we come up here and we talk to y'all, and nothing seems to ever get done. And I think that's because, you know, we already know how you're going to vote before you vote, most of you. Because your campaigns to get elected were all financed by police groups. So who are you going to vote for? Who are you going to vote with if you're being elected because the police groups are getting you elected? You're going to vote with the police. So sometimes you guys will speak out. Sometimes a big issue will make you come out and say, "Oh wow, it's just a few bad apples here and there," but it's not a few bad apples. It's all of them. It's actually all of them. And what you guys aren't seeing is what the everyday encounters that people have with the police. I've seen them. I'm out there filming them, and I've seen some of the small things that are going to cause mistrust to stay solidified. I mean, a lot of times somebody will call 911, and they're the ones that get arrested because the police officers are allowed to escalate things and let them get out of control. I've seen them use profanity, rudeness on homeless people, and there's a lot of things we don't know too. Like there was some cocaine found in the locker room at the South Division. We don't know whose cocaine that was, and it was police officers. Whose cocaine was that? We don't know who the guy was that killed Brandon Zapata at the mall. Last summer, Brandon Zapata he was a teenager. He was having an asthma attack, and one of the Fort Worth Police Department officers actually knelt on his back and neck because he thought that he was having some sort of mental crisis, but instead that officer killed that boy because he suffocated him. So we paid over $1 million for an expert review board to come out and tell us what was wrong with the police department and how to fix it. But that $1 million is, what was it? Why did you spend it if you're not going to take their advice? I mean, we haven't taken any other advice. These officers are allowed to escalate instead of de-escalate because what they're allowed to do is first they ask somebody to do something, then they command them, and then they make them do their command. So all these things need to be changed, but it's going to be hard to change when the councils are most of them, not all of y'all, most of you guys are elected because of police funding. That's why it's going to be hard to change, because we need to change the council members.
Our next speaker is Nan Terry, followed by Bill Bergen.
Good evening. My name is Nan Terry, and I live in District 7. Thank you for funding the pilot project for the homeless housing last March. The issues of homelessness and mental illness and affordable housing go hand in hand. The Fort Worth Report article mentions staff would be hired May 1st. The pilot project timeline was 18 months, and I'm just wondering how I can get an update on how it's going. And thank you for showing leadership in funding this project. It's outside the box, it's innovative, I appreciate it. The Mental Health Diversion Center is geared to divert nonviolent individuals away from incarceration and towards social service programs to solve their immediate problem. I urge you to do what is necessary to increase the use of this valuable center. Most persons who are in the midst of a mental health crisis do not need to be incarcerated. Taking them to jail is not the answer. I spoke with the chief outside, and he assured me that he encourages his officers and then for the increased use of the Mental Health Diversion Center. I first heard about the crisis intervention team at Movies That Matter. I saw the movie Ernie and Joe, Crisis Cops, and afterwards there was a panel discussion with members of the Fort Worth CIT and MHMR. after the presentation, my friends and I talked about how proud we were to live in a city that had a CIT and were doing something other than the run-of-the-mill law enforcement associated with mental illness. I urge you to maintain the funding and grow the CIT program. Thank you.
Thank you, Nan. And Nan, we'll have Tara Perez reach out to you to give you an update on our pilot program with MHMR. Our next speaker is Bill Bergen, and then followed by Gerald Miller.
I always think I'm getting set up. Mayor, council, David Cook, 10 years, congratulations. These people up here probably feel like Channel 5 did when they had to replace Harold Taft. They got a big job in front of them. You know, I came down here tonight, as always, I like to thank you guys. I like to thank you for what you've done, for what you have to put up with week after week after week. Rarely does anybody ever come down here and thank you for what you do. I am going to scold you a little bit tonight. I want to encourage you and talk to you a little bit about unity. I planned to come down here and talk about a library. And I saw these young people come in here tonight and sing, and it just reminded me how important our youth are and how important our libraries are. And also tonight, listening to people come down here and speak, I know how important education is, and I know how important knowledge is, which reminds me how important libraries are. Chief, thank you for what you do. I heard a really good report on the radio the other day for the positive things that the city of Fort Worth and the police department are doing. They do a great job. When I was a little kid, my grandmother said something to me I'll never forget. She said, you know what? Nothing good happens at 2 o'clock in the morning. And that's true. 2 o'clock in the morning. Can anybody tell me something good that's happened to you at 2 o'clock in the morning? I can also tell you that anytime someone has had a negative experience with a police officer, it's because they are probably committing a crime. It's why they're interacting with the police officer to start with. So if you're not going to commit a crime, you're probably not going to get involved with the police. Does that make sense? Excuse me, this is my time. I lost mine. We need a library. Thank y'all very much.
No. Quiet from the audience, please. I don't want to remove anybody. We're on a roll here. Do you want to leave or you want to stay? It's up to you. Wonderful. Let's just be quiet. Let's let our next speaker, great. Gerald Miller is our next speaker, followed by Carla Palmeras. And Carla has a group, so we'll do 6 minutes. Fair enough, Bill. You have not. Mr. Miller, the floor is yours. We're all going to listen.
Thank you to the mayor and to the city council and to you others who are sitting here. I noticed something while I was sitting here. I guess I'm old school. I want to know first, why in the world the city council has not made a rule or whatever about gentlemen taking off their hats in this edifice. I can't understand that. I just noticed it. No, I don't mean to offend anybody, but I'm from old school. When you walk in a church, you take off your hat. And I think that this, it's not a church, but it's pretty, I have in my hand, you all, and I did not make copies of it, but I have in my hand a letter from the municipal court. I had a ticket. I was found guilty. I filed an appeal. That appeal is supposed to be filed in the county criminal courts. I filed my notice of appeal as indicated with the municipal court clerk, and I received a letter a couple of days ago where they're telling me that the judge at the county level denied it. Well, when I went to search and looking for a case number for the county, I have been on the phone for 2 days talking to the county about my case number. If a judge makes a decision, and Ms. Guzman, you are an attorney. Are you Ms. Guzman? You are an attorney. You know when you file an appeal, when you filed anything in court, when I went to court, I had a ticket number or a case number. When you file something in court, you are supposed to get a case number from the clerk. No case number has been generated. That's ridiculous. But I tell you, I'm not going to give up my Fifth Amendment rights because the city of Fort Worth wants to eliminate them. This case will be going to the Texas Criminal Court of Appeals and to the U.S. Supreme Court because they said I had the right to appeal, and this city wants to cut that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. William, you might check with him if you don't mind. Mr. Miller, Mr. Rumley's going to check with you on the way up. You go up those stairs. That gentleman right there is going to take a look. Carla Palmeros, I think you have a group, Carla, so she'll have 6 minutes. You don't have to call out names. Just if you stand up if you're part of the group, that'd be helpful. Thank you very much. That's good. Carla, the floor is yours, followed by Liz Badgley.
Hello, Council. I'm coming before you today as a resident of District 11 and as a community member to voice my support for the City of Fort Worth to raise its minimum wage from $15.45 an hour to $20 an hour for the fiscal year 2025 budget. On June 18th, special work session regarding the budget, the Human Resources Department Director, Deanna Giordano, shared details on the pay and benefits packages for employees and presented their work analysis and essentially their justification for not increasing the minimum wage to $20 an hour, and instead settling for the near 50-cent raise pushed by David Cook, who happens to make $400K a year himself. Complaints of compression, which we know is a natural occurrence and isn't going to break an organization or the budget, and devaluing jobs and positions based on duties or responsibilities, age demographics, length of the opportunity, and the pushing of a narrative that many of the low-paying jobs are hard to fill and keep filled was appalling. I also found it shameful that the data on the city's workforce and the negative impacts on morale was presented in a way that makes it seem like providing an adequate livable wage is a burden on other city employees who are making more than $20 an hour. Pitting workers against workers is disgraceful, especially when we as a city have the resources to invest in every employee equitably. Something else I wanted to point out, per the public notices posted on the meet and confer agreements between the city and the Fort Worth Police Officers Association, is that the city has prioritized and met to discuss and explore the benefits, pay, and other items that impact the employees of Fort Worth PD on 9 occasions this year alone. The Human Resources Department was very proud to share the impact of boosting wages for fire and police and how that improved employee wellness and turnover and was the right investment. So they do believe in increasing wages, but not for everyone. Well, also according to the Human Resources Department and their data, the annual estimated onboarding costs for the current 773 positions that are paid under $20 an hour is between 24.8 and 30.5 million. That is based on the onboarding costs that they estimated, which is anywhere from 50 to 100% of the annual salary of the position. That far outweighs the total expected cost of $5.3 million to raise the wages for those current 773 employees. And if we think about how many potential employees could leave a job because they can't make it on the wages being earned, we can expect that the inflated fear of compression costs would be outweighed, and in turn the city would save money in the longer term by thinking forward instead of settling for playing catch up. Also, the presentation that illustrated the turnover rate of the city of Fort Worth, having dropped overall from 20% to 6%, was disingenuous, especially while the Human Resources Department explained that there were many low-paying, hard-to-fill positions that had been vacant for long periods of time. To me, this says if we aren't trying to fill the difficult positions, we don't have to report bad numbers. They really told on themselves there that they know an increase in wages would solve that problem. And if we connected the dots that lower paid jobs were not desirable, then what's the natural solution? to make them desirable to applicants and employees that will be able to afford their rent or mortgage, their health care or child care, contributing to a retirement, supporting their children and families, and lift people up instead of condemning them to poverty and debt and forcing them to find jobs elsewhere in cities that do pay living wages, like our neighbors in Dallas and Denton. I do want to say thank you to Jared, Chris, Gina, Elizabeth, and Jeanette, who have so far voiced their support for an increase to $20 an hour and for their efforts to have honest conversations about the reality of workers' livelihoods. I hope that each of you will continue to be a champion for livable wages for employees and families of Fort Worth. To Carlos, Michael, Macy, Maddie, and Charles, I challenge each of you to join your colleagues in doing better for the people that make their lives easier every day and the lives of nearly 1 million people who live in this city. The workers with the lowest paying jobs and on our front lines are holding up our libraries, our community centers, our parks and public spaces, maintaining our pools, our code compliance, our maintenance workers, our janitors, our customer service workers, technicians, mechanics, municipal court workers, our traffic services and water services, and so on and so on. I ask that every council member do the right thing and approve a fiscal year 2025 budget that includes an investment in all city employees by increasing the minimum wage to $20 an hour. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Liz Badgley, followed by Joe Nam, or Jay Nam.
Good evening, Council. My name is Liz Badgley, and I live in District 5. I stand before you tonight to address the matter of great concern, the pervasive feeling of insecurity within our community. It is more than disheartening to hear that some of my fellow Fort Worthians are advised to leave our city if they feel unsafe, rather than receiving a commitment from this council to address the root of these issues. Our city faces a disturbing reality where individuals with different skin colors are losing their lives in our jail system, many of whom are struggling with mental health challenges. This is a dire situation that demands immediate attention and systematic reform. We are living in a community where our sheriff, the less than honorable Bill Kilborn, and County Judge Tim O'Hare openly meet and accept funds from white supremacists who are actively working to elect other fascists and neo-Nazis into Tarrant County office. The city openly hosts white supremacist conventions at our botanical gardens, which is supposed to represent diversity, under the guise of protecting the freedom of speech of a recognized hate group known as True Texas. True Texas is for everybody. Meanwhile, we have witnessed disturbing incidents where citizen journalists who are essential in holding our police officers accountable are being violently assaulted on our streets. This not only jeopardizes their safety, but also undermines our fundamental right to free speech and press. Our police officers who are entrusted with the duty to protect and serve must be held accountable to the highest standards of conduct. Recent reports of excessive force, more jail deaths, and police brutality are deeply troubling and betray the trust between law enforcement and our community. Additionally, the spread of white supremacist ideology in our city is an abhorrent affront to the values of equality and justice that Fort Worth should stand for. However, it seems like the real Fort Worth way is nothing but a rhetoric of hate. The proliferation of such hateful rhetoric is corrosive and must be actively countered. The safety of all Tarrant County residents is at stake, and it is clear that not everyone feels secure in our community. It is imperative that we address these issues comprehensively and urgently. I urge this council to take meaningful actions to ensure that our city is a safe and inclusive place for everyone, regardless of the color of their skin, in white supremacy in Tarrant County. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jay Nam, followed by David Martinez.
Hi, my name is Jay, and I'm a public school teacher and a proud union member of American Federation of Teachers. I'm here in solidarity to voice my support for the city of Fort Worth to raise its minimum wage from $15.45 an hour to $20 an hour. I believe that everyone deserves to be able to pay their rent or mortgage, put food on the table for their families, to pursue higher education, to afford health care and child care, to be able to save money for retirement and live a dignified life no matter what their job or career path looks like. A dignified and livable wage for anyone living in the city of Fort Worth is $22.10 an hour to cover their basic necessities. This breaks down to about $46,000 per year. The current wage rate for the city of Fort Worth is $15.45 an hour and about $32,000 annually. And this does not meet working families' needs to meet the median rent rate of $1,300 or healthcare costs at an average rate of $409 per month. Families are actively going into poverty, and it is shameful to know that almost 25% of City of Fort Worth workers are falling into that category. I ask that every city council member do the right thing and approve a fiscal year 2025 budget that includes an investment in all city employees by increasing the minimum wage to $20 an hour. Thank you.
Our next speaker is David Martinez. I thought I saw David, maybe I was wrong. Is David here? Make sure before we close the meeting out. He is, okay, I thought so. Thank you.
Good evening. Sorry I took y'all too much time. Anyways, I'm sorry. I know y'all missed me. I'm glad to see y'all back. And well, I'm gonna start off with a complaint. The complaint I had was with the homeless being unleashed on the community centers in Southside, Worth Heights Community Center, and the Victory Forest Community Center. And it got taken care of though. They lock them up, and then because the homeless were giving loud cooling stations at the community centers, and then the kids were there, and so they were there for the summer camp, and so I didn't want them to be around the kids because, like y'all know, like if you're gonna be around the kids, you got to get a background check and everything like that. And they were people that were homeless. We don't know where they were coming from, and so they were just walking right in and going to the restrooms with the kids, and I couldn't have that there. So, but it got taken care of. So, and then they have to ring the doorbell and they get buzzed in to come into the building. But in case y'all ever think about warming stations, y'all can use the fire stations. Just a suggestion. It's right down the street from Victory Forest. They can go over there, or there could be other solutions besides putting them with the after-school programs at the community centers. Okay, and then now I want to bring up the good news. Thank you, Fort Worth PD, for what y'all did at Carter Park. Y'all ran off the prostitutes and the gang members that were fighting over there and shooting up the neighborhood. Thank you very much. Some of the drive-bys didn't get reported, but y'all still took care of it. And thank you very much for that, Fort Worth PD. Okay, so I also want to bring up that the Tuskegee Airmen Texas State Veterans Home, proud that it's in Carter Park over there by the TC Community Center. It had they put the Mustang replica aircraft at the new Texas State Veterans Home in Fort Worth. This new long-term care facility will serve veterans, spouses, and Gold Star parents. It is an honor to have the home named after the distinguished World War II pilots, nicknamed the Red Tails for the iconic red markings on their aircraft. Thank you. And next, I also want to bring up, sorry, internet doesn't work in here. We also had a back-to-school event over there at La Grande Plaza that was very successful. We were able to pass out bicycles and give out backpacks and stuff for the kids. Also, we had another one coming up that Nettles has over here this weekend, Saturday. I want to bring it up. That's going to be at the YMCA. We also have another one, back-to-school one, at the George the Classic at the barbershop. That's going to be on 8th Avenue. And then we have one over there at, we have another one going to Worth Heights that's on the 17th. So you're welcome. Bring your kids. We're going to have haircuts. We're going to have, we're giving out bicycles, all kinds of stuff. So please come out to those. Thank you very much.
That's the conclusion of our speakers. Meeting is adjourned.